Fredericks here with the Paddle Portage Podcast down at the very end of the Gunflint Trail, Saganaga Lake here behind me, talking about big sag today because telephone reporting. This is how you get into Canada from a lake like Sag, or over on the Ely side of the Boundary Waters, the Moose Lake chain. Of course, this extends all the way over, across all the way to Lake of the Woods, Rainy Lake, and all these places where there's lakes that are in Minnesota and part of the lakes in Ontario. And so the Remote Area Border Crossing Program has been a story we've been following very closely. The end of this RABC program, the end of RABC permits, it's coming up now, mid-September. Here we're at last week of July, getting into August now. It's not that far away when RABCs expire, which is going to be a major shift in how people get across these lakes, including property owners on the Canadian side of Sag here, for example. So there's a telephone reporting process that's going to be starting in September. The program officially ends September 14th, and we'll be following how that rollout goes for telephone reporting across all these lakes, where the reporting sites are going to be. We have an article about it up on paddleportage.com. It supports this video today, and there are going to be about 15 of these across this entire region here. So not that many locations, but ample amounts, some locations for people to check in rather than go through a port of entry like Pigeon River or International Falls. So we have been following this very closely this summer, the paddling season for 2026, through the lens of the Cache Bay Ranger Station and Prairie Portage. We've been to both of those locations and utilized the telephone reporting aspect of it. Even though I have an RABC, so I haven't had to use it, but we've seen people using the telephone reporting sites at Cache Bay and Prairie Portage, which are currently the only two active locations for these. Interestingly enough, those are both going to stop because there's a seasonal aspect to those. They're going to stop for the season, I should clarify, because when the ranger stations close around that mid to late September timeframe, those aren't going to be options anymore. And beyond that anyway, they're basically for Quetico entry only. So the question is, when people want to go ice fishing on Sag, big Sag here this winter, what are they going to do? In my communications with CBSA, Canada Border Services Agency, Customs in Canada basically, how you can get up to Sag. Let's just use Sag for example. And CBSA did say that there will be a telephone reporting option on Sag, starting probably in mid-September. How's it going to work? Where's it going to be located? Some of those specifics are still coming. We're going to have an update soon, probably within a month, sometime by the end of August, if not sooner. We're hoping to have, here's exactly where on Sag it is, or here's exactly where on another lake, choose another lake across the Boundary Waters this is, maybe even Gunflint, for example. So we'll have some updates about the exact specifics for where this is going to be available for people to use the telephone reporting check-in. This is one of those stories, the end of the RABC program, the end of RABC permits. This kind of dragged out for a couple years, quite frankly. We first heard about it from some property owners on the Canadian side of Sag, some people who utilized the corridor up through the bwca here to get to the Canadian side, that this was happening 2 years ago, fall of 2024. There was just an extension of active, at the time, RABC permits. You couldn't apply for a new one, so some people had been sort of boxed out from getting up into there basically, unless you went around through a port of entry to get into Quetico. So from our experiences with it and seeing the telephone reporting used this summer at Cache Bay and Prairie Portage, it's great. It's so easy to do. You just go up to the telephone reporting site, you call in the Canada CanPass, and they approve or would deny in the rare instance, but they generally would approve your entry into Canada to go fishing, canoeing, whatever it is you want to do, ice fishing. And so Seeing it used and how simple it was, and we've talked to other people who've done it too, a family, the family that was airlifted out of Quetico here in July, this recent evacuation of Quetico and the BWCA. We shared that story here on the podcast. They used it too. Said it, it took 15-20 minutes. So the point is that it's going to be a simplified version of entry to get into Canada because you didn't have to go through the process of getting an RABC. Now, when we check in to go ice fishing, let's say we want to go ice fishing on the Canadian side of Sag this winter and it's 30 below. Sometimes lake trout really bite well when it's that cold. That's going to be potentially an issue of if it's not an indoor space that we've got to stop, get off the snowmobiles, make this call, check in. Takes 10 minutes, and we've got our gloves off to use the phone at the reporting site on SAG, wherever it is. We'll be getting that soon, like I said. That could be, not that pleasant, but generally speaking, telephone reporting is going to be easier than an RABC permit, certainly for people who aren't going here all that frequently. If you are somebody like a property owner, for example, on the Canadian side of SAG, you might think about applying for a Nexus, enrolled in Nexus. That's basically an option for you to check in advance, so you don't need to use the telephone reporting site. You could call from your cabin here, the end of the trail or mid-trail or wherever, 4 hours in advance. So if you were in Duluth even, you could use that as an option to check in, or in Grand Marais where you still had cell service before you came up the trail. So there's some stuff that will be fleshed out. Change can be hard, but people adapt, and they will adapt. And having seen the telephone reporting in action, so to say, I can definitely say that it is effective and generally pretty smooth. We'll keep following this story. There's some new aspects of it that still need to be fleshed out, primarily where these certain amount, let's just say 15 of these reporting sites across this huge, the northern border of Minnesota, shared with Ontario, where exactly they are. As soon as we get that, we'll share it with you. We've had really good communication with CBSA officials, and particularly here in 2026 in June, when they announced that they were going to be opening the telephone reporting at Cache Bay and Prairie Portage. So we'll stay in contact with our contacts at CBSA. We'll keep you updated. You can follow all of the news at paddleportage.com. And as we wind down this video here, we can look over at SAG and the corridor just over there, and the Boundary Waters is still closed here right now. Definitely some other changes about that and other videos and other coverage that we have. But for this, we're talking generally telephone reporting, because it's one of those stories happening beneath the closure and the wildfires, the evacuations, all the other news about the Boundary Waters. Definitely don't want to lose sight of the importance of telephone reporting and what it means for access year-round on a place like mighty SAG back here behind us.